AB, he wouldn't have gotten suspended. But most players, let's be honest, there's a lot of guys who do drugs in the NFL, and most of them get around their tests. So the main issue would be avoiding possession charges for these guys. And if you play for the Seahawks or the Broncos, go ahead. You're not going to get charged with possession. You're not going to get arrested. And you won't get suspended. So I think that's unfair for a lot of players, since it's a banned substance. So I think the NFL needs to address that. I think, well, first you have to adjust the CBA, and get more testing. But the problem is, once you test for HGH, there's going to be a new drug, and there's going to be a way to get around that test. It's going to be a constant cycle. Really, the NFL's problem isn't safety. It's the steroids and all these drugs that help the players heal. If you go back to the 60s and 70s, guys weren't getting these kind of concussions and injuries because the defenders weren't this strong. It's not like we evolved that much that we're that much stronger than these guys. It's the drugs. That's how they're getting these monster hits and knocking guys out for 4 weeks. Yeah, you had a freak injury once in a while. But the steroids is the problem. So the NFL needs to step up and, have a stricter drug policy. Because that concussion prevention isn't the problem. You don't need to make this touch football. You need to get these guys off all their PEDs. Speaking of injuries, a lot of fantasy owners, such as myself, very concerned over Andre Ellington of the Arizona Cardinals. We're still waiting to hear on an MRI. But Bruce Arians has said that he's optimistic Ellington will play on Sunday. So we can only hope for the best at this point, because the Cardinals, probably one of the best teams ever to go 10-6 and not make the playoffs. I think they just have a bad luck that they happen to be in the NFC West, where there's 3 contenders, and the Seahawks are just too good. I think the Cardinals could make a run at jumping the 49ers this year, if not just taking the second wild card. But obviously Ellington would be a huge loss. CB, how far can they get without Andre Ellington?
It's going to be hard for them. It's unclear whether Ellington will miss significant time or not at this point. There was a report out earlier that his foot injury was serious, but it appears that there's a chance he plays tomorrow, which would be a good sign for the Cardinals. Their passing game is decent with Carson Palmer. Obviously, the good receiving game led by Larry Fitzgerald. But without Andre Ellington, it's going to be hard to keep the ground game at its best. I believe their backup, he's a former Steeler, Jonathan Dwyer is their backup.
Dwyer. Great running back.
It's someone that's bounced around the league as he's been on the Steelers. It's going to be hard for them to be reliant on someone like him, who's been in the league but really never shown you anything to prove that he can be a consistent starter in the NFL. So maybe if they have to go a week without Andre Ellington, they could make do. But the fact of the matter is that in such a strong division with the 49ers and the Seahawks and even the Rams, who don't have a bad defense, it's going to be tough to win a lot of games without a good running game, real good passing game, and obviously they have the defense led by Patrick Peterson. But if they're lacking one of those areas, it's going to be hard to win a lot of games in their division.
Yeah, there is absolutely no room for error for the Arizona Cardinals this year. The NFC is way too strong. If we can move the Cardinals to the NFC East, then
they win the
division. They would win the division every year. They would actually have a chance at contending for a Super Bowl, because it's hard for them to make the playoffs in their division right now. But like you said, Rashard Mendenhall actually retired. He was going to be the backup for the Cardinals. Their next two guys are, like you said, Jonathan Dwyer, who was a starter for the Steelers before they got Le'Veon Bell. It was Jonathan Dwyer and Isaac Redman, but still not a consistent kind of guy.
Yeah, he couldn't take hold of the job, and that's why they had the draft Bell, because I didn't feel like Dwyer gave them what they needed in the running game.
Yeah, that's very true. So I mean, he's a decent player, but you'd much rather have him as like a third down guy than your starter. Behind him is Stepfan Taylor. I hope that I'm pronouncing that right. Sorry if I'm not. Not a very well-known name, and that's directly correlated to his play. So hopefully the Cardinals don't have to go there. Hopefully Andre Ellington plays tomorrow. I know I'm hoping for him to be healthy. I'm trying to win a league against CB here.
Not going to happen.
Well, we'll see. We will be keeping you updated with our league throughout the season. So we'll see how that plays out tomorrow. I will be winning the championship over CB, in case any of you were wondering. But also, hope for the best for Andre Ellington. Hope the best for the Arizona Cardinals, because they are one of those teams. You really can't help but root for them, because they're a great team, but it's just the luck of the draw in terms of division. So we like to pride ourselves here at Infinity Sports Network for not having a love affair with Johnny Manziel or Michael Sam. We are not ESPN. But we do have to talk a little Michael Sam in this show. He was cut by the St. Louis Rams. I wasn't surprised at that at all. They're too stacked on the defensive line. They just didn't have room for him on the practice squad. If you have trouble at a position, you want to fill that hole. You don't want to just stack up guys on the D-line. And it's not because the Rams are homophobic. It's not because Michael Sam's gay. It's because they had an undrafted rookie. I don't know if you can help me out with this. His name is escaping me right now. But he really emerged during the preseason. And they just had more important positions to fill in the practice squad. But it wasn't long before Jerry Jones swooped in, picked up Michael Sam, and put him on the practice squad. Now, there were a couple people on Twitter who helped me out saying that Michael Sam will not have a jersey number on the practice squad. So it's not about the jersey sales for Jerry Jones, because Michael Sam was one of the top jersey sellers in the NFL this preseason. But quite honestly, I think Jerry Jones will find a way to get Michael Sam a number on the practice squad and sell his jersey. Because Jerry Jones isn't looking to have him for his talent on the practice squad. He's looking for the publicity. He wants the Cowboys. He not only wants the Cowboys to win a Super Bowl, he wants the Cowboys to get noticed while they win the Super Bowl. He wants total media coverage on the Cowboys at all times, and he wants to win that way. Personally, I don't think that's the best. I think it's a whole lot of unnecessary attention. Because honestly, if I was a GM and I think this is the decision the Rams made. If you have two players at the same exact position, pretty much the same talent level, same size and skill set, one carries baggage of any sort. Michael Sam's case, it was a flock of ESPN reporters around a 7th round draft pick. I'm sorry, but I'm taking the other guy. I don't need that kind of attention around my team. It's not because he's gay. It's because he has all these reporters flocking around him, and he's a 7th rounder. If you want 3 ESPN guys around Sam Bradford, that's fine. He's a former number 1 overall pick. He's supposedly the franchise quarterback, even though he is bad at ACL and hasn't really produced. If you want to go around Chris Long or Janoris Jenkins or some significant player on the team, that's fine. But I don't want a low-round rookie who isn't even good enough to make my practice squad with all these cameras around him. It's too much. CB, did the Rams, first of all, did the Rams make the right decision?
Clearly, they made a football decision, and some people would say, well, if he was so close to making the team, then why didn't he make the practice squad? Well, you use your practice squad to fill positions that you're thin at, and the Rams were not thin at the defensive line position. And that's why they chose to cut him in the first place. If they were thin at that position, they probably would have kept him. Cowboys are actually an interesting fit for him because if the Cowboys are going to struggle on defense all year long, and if Sam plays well in the practice squad and shows progression, and there's an injury or two, maybe he can even get playing time on the Dallas Cowboys because they are a defense that struggles, and they might be trying everything to try and get some success on the field. And Michael Sam might be in a position where he's able to help that defense. Now, with the Rams, they have a great defense. There's not going to be much of a need for Michael Sam to jump in there, even if there's an injury or two. Maybe if there's a bunch of injuries, there could be some use for him. But if there's one or two injuries, there's not going to be still not going to be too much of playing time for Sam. But on the Cowboys, it's a different situation with a mediocre defense. Now, again, they do have a lot of defensive linemen in their organization. But again, there's not a lot of quality in that quantity.
Yeah, that's true. Also, by the way, the undrafted rookie I was thinking about was Ethan Westbrooks out of West Texas A&M. Great talent, huge upside. Look for him to do some stuff with the Rams. He was basically the choice over Michael Sam because this kid really came out of nowhere. I don't think he even, if I'm correct, I don't think he even played football until his late years in college. He was a basketball player. But the Rams signed him as an undrafted rookie, and he did excellent in the preseason. Michael Sam, he got his 2 sacks in against Johnny Manziel, and I think if it was, the kid got 2 sacks, and it was a bigger deal because he got it on Johnny Manziel and he did the money sign, and you saw ESPN drooling over that because those are 2 guys right there. And then they got to do a report on who's comfortable with showering around this kid.
That was the biggest media joke in the history.
Yeah, definitely. Honestly, I feel bad for Michael Sam. I feel like it shouldn't have been. He came out for him. I completely support him. That took a lot of courage, a lot of guts. But it really hurt him. That's not the reason he got drafted in the 7th round. He would have been like a 6th, 7th pick. Maybe 5th at best. Because he wasn't that great of a talent. But when it came down to it, when you saw all these reporters coming to Rams camp, it was a disaster. You don't want that. Jeff Fisher, maybe Rex Ryan would let that fly with the Jets, but Jeff Fisher does not want that around his team. He might like Michael Sam as a person, even as a player, but like I said, if you have 2 guys, same skill level, same size and position, and one has unnecessary media attention and one doesn't, you're taking the one without all the cameras around him. So, I wish nothing but the best of Michael Sam. I hope he has a successful career and has the chance to make history in the NFL. I would love to see that. I would also like to see ESPN and all the other media outlets lay off him. Because I don't think he wants this attention. When he came out before the draft, he said, "I'm Michael Sam, the football player." And casual fans, or people who don't know sports all that well, I see it in school, and even like regular people, they know him as the gay guy, or the gay football player. He's not Michael Sam anymore. He used to be SEC Defensive Player of the Year. That's not who he is anymore, and I feel bad for him. I really do. So I hope.
Before we move on, I'd like to shout out to Cincinnati Bengals, who signed Devin Still to their practice squad so he could pay for his daughter's cancer treatment. That was